Let's explore freedom from within the set and freedom through transcending the set. Now, set theory or system theory is basically that in order to become conscious of anything, we need to create and superimpose somewhat arbitrary, somewhat artificial systems, usually through language and thought, onto the sphere, onto the whole. And as you progress or evolve within system consciousness, you start off with very simple systems. The first system is binary. You take the whole, the sphere, and you cut it in half. And traditionally, this is labeled in more simple cultures as good and bad. And I say in more simple cultures because the half is an illusion, meaning in order to have wholeness, in order to return to the grace of the integrated ecology in which all things are connected, each part of the whole is essential, is important. As that evolves, perhaps you create a triangle, good, bad, and the rainbow in between, black, white, and the rainbow in between. Or you might move on to a four-point system of distinctions. The four elements would be an example of that. But everything is, fire, earth, air, and water. Or then you go to a five-element system in Asia where you add in wood. Or you go to a 32 basic chemical system, in chemistry where the elements are broken down into core elements. Within system theory and within language, you increase consciousness by evolving from very simple systems to more and more and more and more complex systems. And as you do so, you become conscious of more and more of reality by injecting detail through distinction. So within the system in human consciousness, we have sensory data, we have paradigms. Paradigms are, for example, what we're talking about here. If it's in language, it's within a paradigm. And so in this case, we're looking at the paradigm of the duality, so it's a crude system, between the system and the whole, or transcending the system. Within a paradigm sets up a condition. A paradigm is like the frame, and in that paradigm, there's predispositions towards beliefs. So if reality is broken into half, and half of it is good and half of it is bad, or in a more sophisticated culture, half of it is yin and half of it is yang, and they're both equally important in the reconstruction of reality, you now have beliefs. Now, the beliefs that emerge out of the paradigm of good and bad, or good and evil, tend to be different than the paradigm or the beliefs that would emerge out of the paradigm of yin and yang, working in tandem to create the whole, in that wonderful yin and yang symbol where you have the little dot, and the little dot acknowledging the fact that the yang cannot exist without the yin, and the yin cannot exist without the yang, that the male cannot exist without the female, that's obvious biologically, and the female cannot exist without the male, again, obvious biologically. But the paradigm sets up the beliefs. So the paradigm of good and evil is somewhat self-referential. because good has a lot of weight on it and evil has a lot of weight on it. So then we say it's good to be good and it's bad to be bad. And so the belief then is that it's better to be good. So now you have to decide which half of reality is good, and you believe that, or are likely to believe that, if the world is broken into good and evil, that it's, you should be good. In a paradigm of duality of yin and yang, one might be predisposed towards a different belief, such as that balance is the key. So within the yin and yang paradigm, there's a lot of focus on Buddhism, which is the middle way. Within the good and bad paradigm, there's a lot of focus on Christianity, and that's where the good has to fight and win the bad. And so the good has to fight to defend against what's bad. And so out of paradigms, you have beliefs, and you also tend to have value hierarchies, meaning that every human being values the same things, but in a different order. The cult bias of a country like the United States values the individual more than the group, values the masculine expressions more than the feminine expressions. For example, it's better to be assertive than to be receptive. It's better to talk than to listen. So within one's value hierarchy, as we look at the world through a paradigm and through beliefs, there are certain things that are more important. So freedom, individuality, making things happen, etc. Those values are elevated, but at some point, would you allow someone to give you $1 million? Oh, I guess. I mean, it's maybe not the ideal. I'd rather make it or take it or make it happen. But okay, I'll receive if it's to my advantage, but as a lower ranking value. And thoughts emerge out of beliefs, and paradigms, because if you believe that things are good or bad, then one of the things you think about is this good or is it bad? It leads to questions, it leads to answers within the framework of the paradigm. You also have habits that emerge. You could look at laws as habits, what happens most of the time. Most of the time, freezing something turns it into crystalline ice-like structure, but not always. It depends. There are certain chemicals that do not crystallize as they become colder. Certain things become weaker, certain things become stronger, with temperature. But you have laws and you have rules within the system. And one of those laws is a law of mass. It's the law within physical systems that generally says that when a bowling ball collides with a pinball, the pinball goes flying. The bowling ball continues with its general trajectory, just slowed down ever so slightly based on the mass of the pin at the point of collision, or the pinball. So you have things like mass. You also have the ego identity, the habit of thinking, feeling, speaking, and doing that emerges in response to a given environment of paradigms, a given environment of sensation, a given environment of beliefs and memories and value hierarchies. You have an identity. I am the one who always offers to help when someone needs help. How do I know? Well, this is what help is, and I always do this when people ask for help, and this is what asking for help is, and this is what helping is. And I engage with that situation most of the time like this. So I have an identity, a habit. that says, this is me, and I know it's me because I'm the one who did that before and did it before, and that's the one that I identify with. I connect me within that habit of thinking, feeling, speaking, and doing. That's how I know it's me, it's my identity. So now we're inside the system. And the system is very much like a maze. Because once you're an avatar in the system, having adopted an identity, I am this body, and this body is me, and it goes like this, and it doesn't go like some other thing that my body can't do. So I am the body, I am the actions that this body takes, and I'm in this environment, within this paradigm. So I've got an inner world that is constructed by an identity of paradigms and beliefs and expectations and laws and attitudes and feelings and all of this. And I have an outer identity that's defined by the limits of my body and my sensory perception in various environments. So here I am as an identity within the maze. Now the other way of saying this is as an equation. Being in the maze is like being in an equation. And, the equation of life is incredibly complex on multiple dimensions. But within the paradigm of numbers, 60 plus 1 minus 4 equals 57. And so here we are inside the paradigm, inside the set, inside the identity. And the outcome, shall we say, is 57. But what I want the outcome to be, this is kind of the place where pain comes in. I want the outcome to be this, but the outcome is this. I want to be a millionaire, but I'm in debt. I want to be relaxed, but I'm nervous. I want to be good at flying a plane, and I don't have a pilot's license and have never flown a plane in my life. So I want, and here's where I am. So there's a gap. And that gap is measured in part by the concept of pain, the separation from something that I long for. I want to be safe, but I feel scared, so I'm in pain. I want to feel good about myself, but I feel terrible about myself, so I'm in pain. I want to be integrated, but my finger is severed. I want a whole body, but I have a partial body, a partial idea. My idea is my body should be whole, but it's severed, and so I'm in physical pain. I want to be in control, but I feel helpless. And so there's a gap between what we long for and what is, and that gap is measured by pain. Fear, discomfort, hurt, ache, separation, pain. Now, there's two ways of solving the set. And the set is, one of the good analogies of a set is a video game. So, you enter into the video game and you have to play by the rules of the game. You put in a quarter, let's say you get 20 minutes of gameplay. And your body can do this, but not this. And if you learn the system, if you learn the game, you can get better and better within the framework of the paradigm, the laws, the beliefs, the values in the game. The values of this game is you kill as many of little bits of energy that look like this. And you jump over bits of energy that looks like this. And you touch these little symbols that look like this, and you get points. And then the measurement of the game is the score, is the equation. In a culture like the United States, one of the big measurements is net worth. So you do this and this and this, and you'll get X number of dollars. You do this and this and this, and you'll get this other number of dollars. You do this and this and this in this way, and then do this, and you get this other number of dollars. And the winner is the one who has the most dollars. And then there's also the various layers of value hierarchy, because some people will say, well, if you inherited it, well, that's useless. Because why? We value independence, we value struggle, we value hard work. So if you got your winnings just because your brother gave you the console at the end, there's no skill in that. So we value skill. So it's all part of the system. Now, to solve the problem, to get the number to the desired number, or to get out of the maze of all the various challenges produced by the game, you have to go here, and then go here, and then go here, and out here, and down here, and you have to figure out where they go. This one, okay, that's a dead end. This goes here. And you're figuring out how to win in the way that winning is defined within the rules of the game, within the rules of the identity. I am the kind one, but I want to have a bigger house. Well, if I am the kind one, and that's my identity, then I have to figure out how to get the bigger house kindly. And if I do that, that's not kind according to my rules. And if I do this, that's not kind according to my rules. So I can't steal the money. That's not kind. I can't threaten and intimidate people to give me their house or I'll shoot them. Then I'll ruin my identity because I'm the kind one. And so I'm going to do this. Or I'm the mean one. And I have to do it by being mean. I can't be nice, or I can't let other people be nice to me, because that's ruining my identity, right? I'm the mean one. So I'm a tough-nosed business person, and I, shove people around, and then that's how I get my point. So part of the rule of identity is that you've got, you can't just have an identity of being a mean person and go around being generous. It's ruining the identity. It's not fitting. It's not making the equation add up. I can't go around being the kind one who's bullying all these people and ignoring all this feedback and all this stuff. And it's ruining my identity again. So within this system, you have to figure out, and if you're stuck in a box, because this is a pretty simple maze to solve, but some aspects of the cult equation and the identity and ego equation that we create are these no-win scenarios. If I go this way, I lose money for this reason. If I go that way, I lose money for that reason. And those are the only places to go in the game. I'm in a corridor. I can go left or right because I'm in the game. I'm in the game. And there's only a corridor. Now, if I want to create a new doorway in the corridor, I may not know how to do that unless I learn to code the video game and create such a corridor. I might have to write lots of code so that now rather than go left and right, I can go here. Same with life. I may not initially know how to change the code to be able to create this new doorway. I've got to imagine it. I've got to practice it. I've perhaps got to find a group of people who will participate in that game, in the adapted game. In my game, we get to do this. In the Catholic game, all your sins are forgiven if you do them in Jesus' name, or whatever it is. So that's a nice, get home free card if you're in that set. But if you're a Jew, you don't get that out. So you've got to, what do you have to do? Struggle really hard and suffer so that you atone for your sins, or never atone for your sins? How do you get out of that game? Just like, with any game dynamic, if you're playing a game of chess, if nobody will play with you, the game that says, I'm going to jump up and do an unusual move here, because every fifth move I get to do that because I'm wearing a red shirt. That's the rules. People say, I don't want to play that game. I want you to struggle and suffer within this paradigm. Yeah, I don't want to just say you're forgiven because you're forgiven. No, you have to do this, and you have to atone for this and this and this. I want you to get out of this problem. And some problems are set up somewhat deliberately or unconsciously as kind of no-win solutions, like the American male problem, where in order to heal the psyche, one has to embrace and get to know the feminine components of every individual. The listener, the feeler, the responder, the opening one. Well, that may be what I need to do in order to solve this psychological problem. But then that creates a new problem, because my cult says that if I feel things deeply, then I lose value. So I'm trying to gain value in the cult and solve this psychological problem at the same time. So do I have to create a secret where I secretly explore my feminine side but pretend to be tough on the outside, therefore securing cult rank and solving the psychological problem? But now I have a new problem within that matrix, because now I have to deal with the fact that secrecy is a sign of fear or a sign of need. Because if I'm completely powerful and can have whatever I want just because I want it, I don't need to spend energy keeping secrets. But if I want to manipulate because I don't have that power, then I have to hide this thing here, because I can't create what I want without keeping a secret. And so now I have to divide myself into two selves, the part that's living this reality and the part that's living this reality. So I've solved the problem. I look tough, and so I'm high-ranking. And I've solved the psychological problem of that ache and void when half of us is butchered off by the cult and suppressed and denied. But now I have a new problem called secrecy. Well, then how do you solve that problem? Maybe you go to a group and share your secret with this group, and then you have a little bit less schizophrenia in the group. But maybe now you have a new problem because you have a reputation, and maybe some in the group will leak the secret to the press. So maybe now you have to hire a hitman to, knock off unscrupulous members of your support group in case your secret gets out. Now you have a new problem, because now, you've got to make sure that no one traces the money to the hitman, right? So you've got, within the set and within the paradigm created by the cult, you've got all these no-win situations and trade-offs and either-ors. It's left or right, or spending 250 hours coding the opening. Well, there's a price for that. And, the price, limited time, limited this, limited resources and stuff. So everything in the system has a limit. It has a boundary. And it operates within certain habits or certain rules within the system. So part of living reality, etc., is to learn to consciously create fun within the system. So you learn, okay, I've got a bunch of square houses to choose from, but this one is a little more fun than that one because it's out in the woods. And so I get to be myself. And I believe that being myself is good, and I believe that my cult doesn't value me being my authentic me, so I need to be my authentic me in privacy. So I can be me because I'm off in the woods. I can walk around naked without being judged because no one's there to judge me. I can not comb my hair in the morning if I don't feel like. I can do whatever I feel like without judgment and censorship. So so you learn to play the game towards the ultimate value, which is conscious, sustainable fun. Why? Because it's more fun to have fun than not to have fun. Because it's more fun to have conscious fun than to have unconscious fun. Because it's more fun to have sustainable conscious fun than to have volatile fun. Meaning it's not as much fun to be having fun and then have it ripped away from you for reasons you have no idea and are, you feel dominated by, as it is to have sustainable fun, that I know how I created it, I know how I can create it again, and there's no fear of losing the fun because I'm creating it, and I know how to co-create that in my ecology. And so the pinnacle, every human being in the history of humanity has wanted to feel sustainably good and avoid feeling sustainably bad. Meaning they want to feel sustainably happy, joyful, to be having sustainable fun, and they want to avoid chronic suffering. And so within that dynamic, you have a set. Every cult is a set. The physical body has a set. Physicality has a set. The planet has a set. Gravitational forces, etc. You can't just jump up and fly off the Earth because we're in the set of gravitational pull. And it's important to understand in this set of matter that it's a lot of it is self-referential, much like a video game. So why is it that you can't, if you're Pac-Man going along, just walk out the maze? Why can't you do that? If you're a finger going along, you can just grow over the screen. But in order to do that within Pac-Man, you have to rewrite the code. Otherwise, you have to follow the lines. It's not because they're real. It's because this illusion is operating within the same set of illusion at the same frequency. A very, very low wave, maybe a frequency of an up and a down every mile, can travel through the hand, like radio waves, etc., long wave radio waves and things like that. It can travel through the hand just fine, no friction. But if these atoms are operating at this frequency and these atoms are operating at the same frequency, then the vibrations line up and they can't pass through one another. They feel solid. And so this particular set is experienced as the set in which all the things operating within a certain frequency affect one another, impact one another, have consequences because they're operating at the same set. And it's useful to notice this because atoms are 99% space. The universe is 99% space. So you don't have a problem traveling through space. But if you're an object and you're try to travel through another object that is vibrating in a similar frequency within the sensory, you have a collision. If you're an energy that's traveling through atoms, etc., you can go right through an atom the same way that you can travel through the gap between the Earth and Mars. There's a very big amount of space. There's 99% space within every atom. There's 99% space within the universe. There's a fractal pattern that says a lot of reality is space. And so you can move through as long as you're not pushing against objects that are engaging at the same level of vibration. And so one of the insights around this is that all conflict is between similarly vibrating objects. Because if this object is flying through the space and this object is here, you don't have a collision. But if this object is meeting this object at the same frequency and in the same space, now you have a conflict. I want to go there, I want to go there. There's a lot of space. You don't have to hit one another, but it takes, but if you're very similar, you will tend to collide. And if you're similar in an opposing dynamic, then you have this situation of conflict. So one way to solve the fun equation, the goal of every human being to feel sustainably better, moving towards conscious, sustainable fun. And I pick fun up there because it's one of the few things that is self-referential. You should be honest. Why? Because it's no fun to be lied to, and most habits become viral. Meaning if you start lying to this person all the time, then they may start lying to you to avoid being damaged by your lies. Or you may teach a lot of people around you that lying is fun, and so they start lying, but it's not usually very fun to be lied to. So you have an asymmetry. Now, if you can be in a system where all parts of the system have fun, it is a more sustainable form of fun than where one part of the system is miserable and the other part has fun. It's more sustainable because in a system where half of the system is miserable and half of it is fun, the rotation of reality, the circular nature of reality, tends to create a pattern where the people who were at the top of the system here move down to the bottom, and the people at the bottom move up to the top. And there's always half that aren't having fun, and there's always half that are having fun, but it changes with time. So it's more sustainable if everyone is having fun than as you go through the circle, as you go through the system. It doesn't matter where you are in the system. Yesterday you were a CEO, today you're a janitor. If you're in a system that treats CEOs well and treats janitors well, you have fun, you have fun. It's just a different form as life progresses. Win-lose systems guarantee that there will be some time when you lose. Maybe 1% of the time, it may be 80% of the time, it may be 90% of the time, but in a system where there are winners and losers, you're going to lose a certain percentage of the time, and losing isn't as much fun as winning. So if you have a system where everyone's a winner, then you've got a more stable, sustainable form of fun. Well, I want to be free. Why? Because it's more fun to be free than to be imprisoned. And the reason fun is at the conscious, sustainable fun is at the top of the hierarchy is it's one of the few things that is self-referential and self-evident. I want to be free. Do you want to be free if you're miserable being free? No. I want to be free so that I can feel better, so that I can choose this and this that will result in a reality that is what? More fun. And so I want to be powerful. Why? Well, I want to use my power to create such and such a reality that is more fun than the reality that I would create if I was powerless, for example. So if you follow the hierarchy of values, why do you want that? And why do you want that? And why do you want that? It's ultimately to end up in a reality that's more fun than not fun. I want to learn this skill so that I can what? Be masterful. So that I can be what? Take care of my body. So that I can what? Do things with my body. So that I can what? Achieve this reality. So that I can what? Have more fun, more conscious fun in that reality. And it doesn't work the other way around. You don't want to have fun so that you can be free, so that you can work harder. The goal is not to work harder. The goal is not to be free just to be free so that you're free. The goal is not to work smarter so that you can work even smarter so that you can work even smarter. The goal is to work smarter so that you can have more mastery creating a certain reality that you believe will be more fun than the reality you can create without that mastery, without learning that skill. But it is self-referential to have fun. It is fun to have fun. It is more fun to know how to create and sustain that fun indefinitely than it is, you watch kids and they're often playing, in abusive households, they're playing, and then their drunk dad comes home and knocks their toys off the table. So they were having fun, now they're scared and they've lost their fun. Well, they want to have fun again, so they start playing again and do this, and Dad hits them. Now they're not having fun again. And at some point, they're like, I don't want to be having fun and then have it ripped away from me. So I'm just going to sulk. Now, sulking is not a lot of fun, but it's powerful. Meaning if I'm sulking and Dad hits me, then I just sulk some more. I wasn't knocked around. And so we're not only moving towards fun, but along the way, we're trying to establish certainty. We're trying to establish control so that it doesn't feel just completely random, which is why the peak state that every human being is reaching for is conscious, sustainable fun, which in an ecological framework is a system, whether it's a cultural system or a legal system or a belief system, in which everyone is winning, in which everyone is consciously able to create the reality that is the most fun for them as an individual, while supporting the reality of everyone else that is the most fun. If my fun is cutting down all the rainforests, and my fun is living in a rainforest, you have a conflict. So the artistry comes in moving towards a reality where the definition of fun, where the paradigm of fun, even the value of fun, because in a chauvinistic cult, fun is feminine, right? It's not serious. You have to make lots of money and that's a serious business. Well, it's not as fun to be serious and hard-nosed and all that as it is to be free and playful. It's more fun to be free and playful. But if your belief is that everyone who's free and playful will end up dominated by other people who are not, then in order to avoid being dominated and having your fun taken away from you, you may have to put in your 65 years of nose to the grind so that you can amass the power so that no one can take away your fun. And then you can be fun and playful, with your retirement or whatever it is. So, but that's obviously not as sophisticated and successful a culture as the culture in which you have conscious, sustainable fun from cradle to grave for the vast majority of people, and certainly anyone who wants it. And that everyone in the system knows how to do it and learns it. This is how you take this type of state and turn it into this type of state. This is how you take an abusive relationship and turn it into a win-win relationship. So when everyone knows how to have sustainable fun, more people do it. And it's more fun when more people are doing it. It's more fun to be around people having fun than it is to be around people who are miserable. And so the end of the game within the system is to find a structure, to find a code, a set of beliefs, a set of thoughts, in which ultimately everyone in that set is at very high levels of conscious fun, while supporting and being around other people in very high levels of sustainable fun. And the Earth's ecology supports that possibility. That is within the set, meaning there's enough food, there's enough energy, there's enough space that a group of people operating within a certain paradigm and the beliefs and value hierarchies and thoughts and habits and laws and rules and identity, that everyone following that protocol is highly predisposed, statistically, predictably, sustainably, towards conscious fun. And there are also infinite varieties of engaging within a set, creating a set and engaging in the set, in which most people are predictably 40% miserable or 80% miserable or whatever it is. You can look at the statistics of your cult and you can know that the paradigms, beliefs, value hierarchy, thoughts, feelings, habits, laws, rules, and identities within that cult produce that statistical equation. 60 plus 1 minus 4 equals 57. If you want to get that same number up to 3,800, well, you've got to turn the pluses into multiples. You may need to add a number. You may need to start with a new variable. And then you get that equation. So one way to play the game of life is to work within the system, the ego identity, the habits, the laws, the culture, etc., and make incremental changes over time to improve the game, basically, to see that more people win. Because in board games like Monopoly, there's often a what makes it real? Well, most people are going to lose and there'll be one winner, right? The one who collects the most rent and bankrupts everyone else. But of course, in life, it's not quite the same. Because in Monopoly, if one person builds hotels before you do, you've pretty much lost because you're going to land on those hotels and then you're going to have to pay all this money. Then you won't have money to buy your own hotels and it's a zero-sum game. But if in real life, your best friend becomes a millionaire on July 4th and you become a millionaire on December 4th, some months later, are you any less a millionaire if that's the ranking system you're using to know whether you've won or not? Or if one of your friends becomes happy at 6 a.m. in the morning and you become happy at 10 a.m. in the morning, it's not like your happiness is meaningless because you weren't first. You can all be happier and learn to play the game that makes you happier. So this is all working within the set. Now, the other way to win the game of creating sustainable conscious fun is to step out of the game, is to dissolve the game, is to let the game be an illusion, is to remember the identity that is beyond the game. So here you have for example, you have the dialectic. You have the sympathy, you have the antipathy, and then you have the witness that creates the synthesis. You have the child need, you have the adolescent lust, you have the young adult exploration, and then you have the adult that witnesses and serves these smaller components within the self. And so within whatever identity you are in, there is also always a part of you that is witnessing whatever game you're in. I'm this person and this one. And I am also the one witnessing myself saying that I am this and this. And the witness is not in the game. The witness is outside the set. So this is one form of transcending the game. The other is moving through brain development. So the reptilian brain is fight, flight, and freeze. The limbic brain is reactive emotion, generally leading with the negative, pain, fear, anger, root emotion. The rational brain is the one that figures out the set. It's the brain with memory that says, every time I go here and run fast, I hit a brick wall. But if I run curve and I remember that, and I look at a cue, I don't hit a brick wall. So my identity is protected. Maybe I'm pretending that I'm smart. Well, smart people shouldn't be running into walls. So I get to preserve my identity that says I'm smart when I learn to run around this corner. So the rational brain. Then there's the empathic brain that says, well, I know how you feel because this is how I feel. And I can imagine what it's like to lose your house, because when I lost my house, I felt ashamed because I'm in a cult that shames people who are homeless. And so you have the empathic brain, which starts to enable a certain amount of cooperation. You can cooperate sociopathically on a rational level. I won't hit you if you don't hit me, and as long as that's that's the stalemate, of equal force. That's why Russia and America didn't go to war. I want to kill you, but I can't do it without hurting myself. So I will cooperate with you for mutual preservation, not out of love, but out of fear. So you can get to the rational brain without any empathy and cooperate because logically, like, why do we do business with our enemies? Because both people win. You look at it emotionally and you say they're bad. I want to kill them. I want nothing to do with them. The Chinese are bad, say the Americans, right? But we're still going to buy their products. Why? Because even though emotionally I'm condemning them, rationally I'm saying, well, they have a cheaper radio. If my iPhone was made here, I'd have to pay double for it, and so it's in my interest to support the people that I claim are my enemy. And so rationality can lead to a certain amount of cooperation, as in free market capitalism. But you can start engaging in heart-based cooperation once the empathic brain comes online, to where I now through mirror neurons, I feel what you feel. Now, every series of brain development creates a probability field and an actuality field. That is the reality capable of being produced by a reptile. The fight, flight, freeze reptilian brain creates a sociopathic environment, where if something's bigger than you, you run. If something's smaller than you fight. You beat it. It's not based on empathy. It's based on survival of the fittest. Well, you can create a reptilian sociopathic environment with power dynamics overlaid with rationality, with the reptilian brain. You can create a reactive dynamic of circular behavior. I'm going to hit you, and then you're going to take revenge, and then I'm going to take revenge for you taking revenge. So out of the limbic brain of, that doesn't feel good, I'm going to attack it. And then the other person, that didn't feel good to them, so they attack it. So you go round and round a bit. And then, when that gets boring and painful, you elevate to the rational and says, if we both endlessly take revenge for our perceived or actual slights, there's no end to this. So even though I hate you and rationally I'm going to transcend my emotions with rationality. And rationally I can say, well, if I cut you off here and there, you don't know who I am, and I'll get home 2 seconds earlier. But empathically, so you can create a rational brain somewhat sociopathically, taking expedient shortcuts when it's to my advantage. And then cooperating collaboratively when it's to my advantage. The empathic brain says, I'm not going to cut this person off even though I could, because I don't like the way that it feels, and I want to be in a world where I don't get cut off. And the reality is, the more people cut people off, the more people cut people off. And the more people honk their horns, the more people honk their horns. The more people light fires, the more fires catch other fires and things burn. And so the fact that reality teaches us that whatever it is that we're putting out there tends to ripple out and often be replicated by reactive people who just mirror back whatever's, you say something bad about something, a reactive person will immediately say something bad about you, or collapse, or whatever it is that they do. But the empathic brain allows us to create a more cooperative thing where I'm going to do stuff that's good for me, but that's also good for you. I'm not going to cross over this line. And again, you have a more fun reality when everyone is operating from empathy as opposed to self-absorbed rationality. It's more fun to be empathic. It's more fun when other people have empathy towards us. But the last brain is the transcendent brain. Through the endogenous DMT that we're all born with, we have the ability to have transcendent experiences of getting to know some part of ourself that is outside the set, that's beyond physicality, that's beyond culture, that's beyond the past memory, that's bigger than that. And so this is another way of transcending the maze, through meditation, through psychedelics, through dance, through chants, through ritual, through exertion, through fasting, whatever it is, to activate that transcendent brain that becomes one with something bigger than the self. Because in doing so, we become aware of the part of us that is outside the game, meaning this part is still running into walls. Because, the part of us that is in the game and in the maze stays in the maze until it works its way out of the maze. But it doesn't have to captivate us and define us if we primarily identify with the part of us that is outside of the maze, that's playing the game that is the maze. In other words, to move from the identity of the Pac-Man moving around that can't see around corners to the one choosing to play the game and have fun, manipulating and moving around through those corners. There's also the identity movement of transcendence, where first I'm this isolated ego, and then I'm this larger self that has an ego, and a larger self that has a body. First I'm me, now I'm a family. In dream psychology, one of the most common ways to work with a dream is to understand that every single part of the dream is you, that it has something to do with you, that you're the part that's doing this, and you're the part that's responding to that with that, and then you're the part that's watching it, and you're the part that's indifferent over here, and that this has something to do with the psyche, with the inner dialogue. Well, when you transcend the individual and look at the conversations that are around you, then you say, well, those conversations around me and my family have something to do with me. There's an internalized critical parent. There's a this, and it has something to do with me. And as you move outside the family and the community, and you say, well, this community is part of my dream. I am this community. I am this identity within this community, but I'm also the community. And knowing that I am the community, how do I operate? Do I operate differently than knowing that I am opposed to the community? I am the culture. I am the species. I am the host body that gives birth to the species. When I identify as the earth, for example, the earth has done nothing but create millions upon millions of various life forms, one becoming the other in the endless dance of energy, which physicists say no energy is created or destroyed. It just changes form. One form, then another form. It's all the same energy, though. This was food, then it was my body, then it was food for the tree that gave me the food. It's just energy moving through different stages, but it's all life. And so if I become the food of something else, that's me. I am the one who's eating and consuming this, and I am the host body that gives rise to life. Because there's no way for nature to lose. Nature throws out 1 billion different life forms and waits to see which ones work, which ones are fun, which ones succeed, and says yes. Whichever one can do it, great. If you can't do it, that's fine. No blame, no punishment. Energy is consumed and becomes more and more complex, conscious, successful, moving towards sustainable fun. And the last is to dissolve the system, because this system is constructed largely in the mind. What I believe about what I believe about my experiences, what I believe is the reason this is happening. And it is those beliefs and paradigms and sensations filtered through those beliefs that create my sense of reality. And so if there's a sense of reality that I'm not happy with, that's causing me a lot of suffering, and my goal, along with every other being on the planet, is to create higher levels of sustainable fun, then in order to create that, I need to dissolve the paradigms and the beliefs that are creating suffering, so that I'm not, by the system I designed, precluding my path towards sustainable fun. And Byron Katie talks about a dissolving process, which is transcendence through inquiry. So if you're in the box, and in your box your landlord hates you, and you have all your list of reasons that show how your landlord is trying to make you feel bad and ruin your life and inconvenience you at every time and make you go broke and make you feel small and this is your construct of your landlord. And so, well, obviously the belief and the paradigm that says that landlords are more powerful than tenants, or that whatever it is, predispose you to having certain thoughts and certain experiences. So I've got to get my landlord to change, or do this, or take him to court and this. And to dissolve that system, the first question, whatever it is, my landlord is a jerk. Is it true? Well, he did this and this and this, and that's my definition of a jerk. So you check inside, is it true? Is my landlord a jerk? Is my landlord limited to just these actions? Maybe they're doing these actions 5% of the time, but I make that their entire identity. So is it true? If I say yes, it's true, my landlord is a jerk, those are jerky things to do, my landlord absolutely did them, and that makes him a jerk. Can I absolutely know that it's true? Well, this takes you into a difficult situation because it's very hard to absolutely know anything. And so if you say, well, okay, I can't absolutely know that it's true. Well, if you can't absolutely know that it's true, then one of the things to look at is, how do you feel with the belief and with the feeling and the thought, my landlord is a jerk, in a paradigm that says landlords are against tenants? How do I feel as a tenant? Well, I feel small, I feel frustrated, I feel tight in my shoulders, I feel hurt, why is he bullying me? I feel sad, no one's there to protect me, I'm just the little guy, because that's what the paradigm says, I'm a little guy. It's not right, and this and that. So the question is then, how do you feel when you believe the thought, my landlord is a jerk? Well, I feel this. The next question is, how would you feel if you ripped up that particular idea? If you ripped up the idea that said, my landlord is a jerk, how would you feel? And generally speaking, with these constricting thoughts and beliefs, we feel a lot lighter. We feel a lot freer. It's more fun. It's more fun, and it's more conscious fun because we're tracking the way we're creating the fun by letting go of certain thoughts and beliefs that cause us to feel suffering. Now, you can have another thought. My landlord is a jerk. Well, that makes me feel this and this. My landlord is a suffering individual. Well, that leads to feeling, what, compassion? Because it's only suffering individuals who are unconscious, who go about causing other people pain. Why? Because it's not fun to hurt people relative to loving people. It's more fun to love people than to hurt people, except when you're stuck in hurt and afraid of being alone in that hurt forever. If you're stuck in pain and you're not getting help anywhere and you believe you'll stay there forever, well, then it may be more fun to have company and hurt someone else, so now they're stuck too, and you have company. So there's a hierarchy of fun that begins as dark as you can imagine. If you're in hell, getting 1 glass of water a day to keep you alive, well, getting 2 glasses of water is more fun. Having a banana is more fun than just 2 glasses of water. There's an endless continuum. Feeling alone and helpless and wounded and all this and ignored isn't as much fun as feeling like you can make someone else feel that way. And so that's why people who are in that particular set of stuck in a great deal of suffering generally will do things, consciously or unconsciously, to make other people suffer in a similar way. And it's a teaching both ways, because it's teaching the reality not to let its individuals wander around helplessly, not having any other way to have fun. And it's a way to take the person who feels helpless and alone into a state of greater power, because now I made you feel helpless and alone, like me. And now we're both in the boat together of this particular equation of suffering. And maybe where our odds go up, because now we've got 2 people cooperating to get out. Whereas before, you were off in your own world ignoring me, and now you're suffering in the same boat as me, so now you're going to solve the problem. Because we're now in the same equation, so we can work as a team. So there's an evolution towards fun in that direction. Who would I be without it? Is that more fun than who would I be within it? Well, and finally, to just create some chaos and disruption of the system, to say the opposite. Because all opposites are true. If you say that my landlord is a jerk, you can find, okay, that's true. Based on this and this and this, he's a jerk. But based on this and this and this, he's not a jerk. Like, he seems to be awfully nice to his cat. So then he's not a jerk. He's a jerk. He's not a jerk. And you complete the symmetry. He's a bad person. He's not a bad person. He's a bad person. I'm a bad person. He's a bad person. The situation is bad. He should do something for me. I should do something for him. And so you basically flip whatever these paradigms, beliefs, value hierarchies, thoughts, habits, etc., and identities to the opposite, and see how that can be true. Because what you're creating is neutrality. If you're highly charged in one side or another of a polarity, you're stuck in the system. If you discharge the energy in a system, you can move through the system without getting stuck. And it's more fun to be able to move through something than it is to get stuck in something. And so by turning things around, you're creating psychological neutrality. You're creating a balance point out of which one can transcend the identity, in this case, transcend the thoughts and beliefs. Now, typically, when do you use one and when do you use the other? Well, if you've got an easy way to your goal, just walk the easy way to the goal. If you want to have a nicer house and all you have to do is this, this, and this, do it. Do this, this, and this, and get a nicer house. So within one's ability, within one's skill level and belief, gracefully increase your sustainable fun by working on the system, by adjusting the equation, by developing your talent within the game, within the set, within the illusion. Work with it and ascend within the bounds of the game while simultaneously seeking to expand and edit and create new boundaries to create more and more freedom within the set. So when should you work with transcendence, which is the other way to create conscious fun, whether or not you've gotten your identity, your avatar, out of the game? And there's a couple of different ways and abilities or kind of thoughts to when to work with transcendence. One, the easiest way to find your way out of the entrance is to remember the part of you that's not in prison, that's not in the set, that's not in the structure, because that's the part of you that knows how to get out of it. And so working with transcendence on a regular basis, once a week or whatever, to have a transcendent experience can remind you that it's not real, which discharges a lot of the emotion, which allows you to be more creative and more playful as you encounter the maze. There it is. Every time I hit to here, I have to go around there, and I have to wander all around here. Up, there's an easier way right there. Let's go that way. Rather than go this way, this way, this way, this way, why don't we go out here? But to go out of an opening, you have to remove a blind spot, is often part of the game, because the blind spot is created by paradigms, by cults, by beliefs, by thoughts, by habits. I always do this. Well, not today. Today I'm doing this. I'm home free. I'm out of the set. So one is a reminder that there is a part of you that's out of the set, and that part is your ally, helping you navigate your identity out of the system in which you're operating as long as you have a physical body. So that's part of it is a reminder, as minimizing the terror, because when you're in a lot of terror, because you believe this is all that you are, and you're in a double bind, there's nothing you can do, and you're surrounded by big objects, and you're helpless, you're pretty much stuck in this little corridor. You can't move out. You're too scared to move. So having a transcendent experience that says, oh, there's a part of me that's too scared to move. How you doing in there? Oh, I'm too scared to move. What if this happens and this happens? Oh, maybe it will. But I'm still here. There's a part of you that's outside the set. Give it a shot. Learn. Be playful. If it doesn't work out, we'll throw in another quarter, play another game. So diffusing and guiding is one purpose for transcendence. And so, when you've got a lot of physical problems, you might spend 8 hours a day working, solving this problem, spending money to solve that problem, do this. Work most of your time in the system to win within the system you're in. And at a certain point in your freedom, usually the top players in any system can migrate to other systems. Most countries will welcome multimillionaires. There's a visa for all of them. So you don't like your system, but you win and get up into your system, and it's a financial ranking, so now I can go and live in this other system where the rules are different, where there is an opening right where I want an opening, and I don't have to bang my head there. And there's an opening right where I want an opening here, so I'll live over here. I'll move and migrate within the system. So that's one direction of growing towards fun, is within the system, within the paradigm of the conscious mind. The other time to transcend the system is when the system is so stuck and so rigged, there is no way out within the system. If I go left, I hit this hard place, and if I go right, I hit this rock. There's nowhere to move. But I can let it be less real. I can diffuse the reality of the system, and I can remember I'm an infinite equation in an open-ended system. It's not a closed system. It's not a pie that the more I take, the less you get. It's an open-ended system that is as big as you're able to perceive. And it's bigger than that. So it's certainly as big as you're able to perceive. And then you can perceive more. There is an abundance of energy. It's up to us to learn the talent, the skill within the system of working with that energy. And part of that is knowing when to step out of the set, when to transcend the system. So this is to experience more conscious fun by just letting the rules be meaningless. I'll have fun once I have $2,500,000. I'll have fun once I'm drinking, a martini on the beach. Now, you can follow those rules, and you can go out and do this and that, and then you can go to the beach and buy your martini, and then you can have fun. But there's nothing stopping you transcending the system by saying, is that true? Is it true that I'll have fun when I have 2.5 million? Is it true that I will not have fun when I have 2.5 million? Is it true that I will have fun when I don't have 2.5 million? Is it not true? You can play with it and just say, I'm going to have fun right now. I can be in jail, looking out of a window in raggedy clothes, and I can decide that that system does not guarantee that I have no ability to access any part in my psyche that has fun just because it's fun. No reason. It's fun to have fun. Why not? And so, can I access that part of who I am? Why not? No one can totally dominate your inner state. So, this is another reason to, if you're in a system where you cannot move very much, you're in a wheelchair without any money, waiting to die, okay. Can you have fun in a wheelchair without any money? Or do you stuck into the habit that says, I'm a loser, this is terrible, this is rotten, etc. So you can transcend the system at any point through dissolving the system with inquiry, as Byron Katie calls it, and lifting beyond it.